Welcome to Toffee Blue Opposition View. I'm Gerry, still, and this is the time where we're going to be talking to a supporter from one of the opposing teams. They have the inside poop. You know what I mean? So today we're super lucky to have, he's a play-by-play commentator, sometimes does color for the ACC Network, has done some work for ESPN3 in the past as well, is that right?
Yes.
And he's an Arsenal supporter, and he's a friend of mine. I mean, he doesn't tell people that in public, but we are. I know him from way back. He's Ty Collins.
How are you?
Yay for Ty!
You're not a Tottenham supporter, so we could still be friends.
That's right. I'm definitely not a Spurs guy. I know a Spurs guy. Does that still disqualify me, or?
No, just as long as he's not in the vicinity, we're good.
Right on. Okay, so let's go ahead and get going because I know that you are also a disgruntled supporter.
Absolutely. Been for a while, actually.
Yeah. Right now you're sitting in 6th for all you other people out there. They're sitting in 6th right now. How does that feel?
Well, let's see. It's a little bit disheartening. It's frustrating. I think that was the best way to put it. Best way to put any kind of Arsenal fan is being just frustrated, because so many times you feel like you should be the next level in the levels of where Manchester United, Manchester City, Chelsea, and you flirt with them, but then you'll lose. Well, you haven't won a away game in a long time. You lose to Stokes, then you lose to the Watford Elton Johns, and then this is, it was typical Saturday for me, where I was looking forward to a nice result, and they scored, and it was just kind of deflating. At the same time, I said, I look at the lineup. I didn't like the lineup. I think
this is all familiar, isn't it, everybody?
I think Mertesacker is probably the slowest person on earth, and we have him playing in the back. His IQ's great, but he's slow.
Did he score your first goal?
Yeah, and he scored our first goal.
So put him up front. What's the deal here?
No kidding. I mean, it's just every time I see the personnel, I scratch my head. And I used to be a big Arsene Wenger fan and supporter. I love the way his style is pretty, but now it's not pretty anymore because he hasn't adapted, and he still has yet to find a defensive center mid. He will not get it through.
He bought so many,
but it's just we cannot find the exact one. Or in the back is terrible. It's besides Bellerin, Koscielny, maybe Monreal.
What about Kolasinac?
That's a Koscielny.
No. The new guy.
Oh, the new guy
from Schalke.
Yeah, I do like him.
Because you stole him from us.
Because actually, he plays with grit, and I still have yet to see any kind of grittiness from this Arsenal.
Yeah, I saw him play early games for y'all, and I thought this guy's going to work out for them.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why when you're playing Watford, who's got some speed, why you put in Mertesacker. I mean, are you dealing with injuries?
I don't know if it's injuries or if it's just Wenger's ego.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what exactly is going on. We can never have a set back line. You have the anchors. Of course, I wouldn't take Koscielny out, but again, I just don't understand the personnel choices that he uses, and even some of the philosophies. It's outrageous. Then you bring Lacazette, then you take him out. You bring in Giroud, that doesn't happen. It just doesn't. It's just one thing after another. It's at one point when I used to be a big fan of how he approached the game and how he approached each match. It's just now it's not the same. I think he's just stubborn, and Arsenal itself, the brass is stubborn, and the supporters are suffering for it. And it's time that I think the only thing to do is actually just wash away with everything, get a new manager, and try to bring back or bring some kind of culture in there, because that culture is not there. The Arsenal culture is basically once you get punched in the mouth, you're done for. and there's no passion. You saw our Switzerland guy. What is it? Saka?
Yeah, Granite.
Yeah, Granit. Just picking his nose why Cleverly hits the game winner. I mean, this type of stuff that you don't see.
I just want to reiterate that he said cleverly hits the game winner. For all you people out there, he just said cleverly hits the game winner. It's not a phrase that's repeated often. So
And of course, it happened to the Gunners, right? So
Yeah.
it was that was again frustrating.
we were talking earlier. So a season in which you do not win the league is a disappointment every time.
Yeah, because I mean, when you have where you are as far as the most valuable clubs are, you're in the top 10. I mean, at one point you were 5th, and I think you dropped to 6th. But you make all that money. You're a very well-known brand. Of course, they know the canon. And for them to put up crap like that every year, or the same thing, it's the same movie played over and over again. Same movie. It's either we'll buy somebody just to shut up the supporters, so like I said, and then we'll just fizzle, and we might tie to Chelsea, or we might lose 4-0 to Liverpool, and be embarrassed for the rest. The supporters are just up in hands and arms. They just want some kind of change, and we've been saying this for a long time about Wenger going, but then Wenger gets another extension, and they make it seem like he's the best thing ever since sliced bread. This guy is old. He's washed up. He doesn't know how to put personnel on the field, and I applaud him for his years. Thank you. You did a great job. But it's done. You're over with. You're still using 1990s tactic. It's very similar to the U.S. national team. We're using old tactics for what's going on now. And it's a lot
too
of has
soon,
to do,
Tyler.
it has a lot to do with politics. It has to do with it's just it's stubbornness. It's just same thing. It won't change unless literally the supporters completely stop buying tickets, and they're starting to do that.
Mm.
So, but if you make that kind of money, you expect a better result than getting, no offense, but no, getting your Europa.
Mm.
And it just hasn't shown on the field. I've noticed it. I think I was one of the first people to actually say Wenger should be out, but then people started catching on, especially my crew, my Arsenal fans.
I see Wenger out billboards everywhere. So you're telling me
No,
your idea.
On this side. On this side of the river.
I just love the idea of the people in London sitting there going, this wouldn't have happened if it weren't for Ty.
Well, I have some friends that are big Gunner fans that were mad at me when I first started saying I want Wenger gone, but yeah, I wouldn't say I was the one who started it, but yes, I'm sure that
he's a trendsetter, folks.
that's right. We start from on the other side of the pond and goes over to England and knocks it out.
So you have a lot of criticism. We have a lot of criticism for our team as well, mainly for our manager right now. However, we also are in the habit of trying to pretend like we have the answers. So let's pretend you are the board. You are the board, chairman, whatever you want to be at Arsenal. You can solve your problems. You can do whatever you want to put Arsenal in what you consider to be the driver's seat in the Premier League, nay, the world.
Immediately, I get rid of Wenger, and I have to bring in somebody with a football mind, a good football mind, to go into the main office, because someone that can actually understand personnel and not just allow something that happened with Alexis Sanchez during the offseason, where you have someone that's sitting there bidding on him, and then he ends up not going anywhere, and basically he's sitting there in the locker room disgruntled and saying he wants to be there. So I think you use what Arsenal is. Arsenal is supposed to be a big-time club, so you use the money, and you go out and you say you steal a manager like the manager at Juventus. Someone that has been able to put a nice product on the field, bring that in. I think his style would commend Arsenal's personnel. And then you end up getting at least a defensive center back, or center midfielder. Wipe out everybody in the back line except for two. And then you got to find some more help with as far as the striker-wise. Because right now, I mean, you have Lacazette, and then you have Welbeck, who's hurt, and then you have Giroud, who's the super sub. But that's it. And it seems like ever since Cazorla has been out, we have yet to find any kind of answer to him to distribute the ball. It's just a mess.
Yeah.
It's a mess. So I would immediately do that, and then immediately act like you say you're going to do every year. Spend good money, get these good players, and bring in somebody that at least brings it to the next level instead of what Wenger's doing. The culture is just completely shot over there.
I mean, I look at your attackers, but you mentioned Welbeck, you mentioned Giroud, you mentioned Lacazette, who all three of those in different ways can be a solo striker if need be. And then you got so many supporting attacking parts like Alexis Sanchez.
Yeah, and use him. They don't use him.
So I mean, think about it seems like to me like your attack is actually all right. It's more just a mindset and firming up your defense. And I don't know if Czech is who he used to be. Right. I mean, I love Peter Cech. Don't get me wrong. Okay, I've always thought he's strong keeper. But I'm not. I just feel like when eventually keepers age, they don't quite have the reaction time.
Yep.
Tim Hard had something in my throat. But yeah, it just happens, and it stinks. And of course, he's not going to want to be a sub for you. He's not going to want to come off the bench for you. But he may serve that purpose for a little while until the next transfer window.
The one thing that they could have done, they didn't do, and it was a match in heaven. They wanted to come to England. London would fit him fine. Was getting Guardiola, Pep, great style. My favorite manager by far, just the way he does it. He's running shop with Manchester City.
Yeah,
and he gets a 3-prong attack, which I guess you would say fair to say that we do have a pretty nice as far as personnel if you use them, because you have Alexis Sanchez sitting on the bench, you have Ozil that comes in off the bench to play 35 minutes. Ozil, you could say Ozil and Sanchez arguably were one of the best players in the Premiership last year. And Wenger still doesn't know how to use them. You know what I mean?
So, question: Is it the fact that he's stubborn? Is he overthinking it?
I think he's stubborn. He's stubborn in his ways. This is how he wants you to play, and then. Look at his reaction when they score. It just says it all.
This is so familiar. You're literally saying so many of the same things that we're saying about Koeman. We're getting a lot of that because I talked to David, I talked to Edward, and it's two of the guys that we do videos with, and they're saying all the same stuff. Edward was literally talking about look at Koeman's reactions when we score a goal.
Really?
He literally said that. I think it was yesterday, day before. Yeah, crazy. It's really familiar. So, what I'm thinking, I'm assuming...
Trading managers?
Assuming, yes! So, I'm thinking...
Cue the key, right?
I actually think that a little change of scenery would do Wenger some good, and Koeman usually... I know with us, he firmed up the defense before he somehow managed to mess it up. So he could potentially firm up your defense. All right. So we switch managers, and we take Wenger off your hands. So then you still owe us. So then you give us Giroud.
Giroud.
Yeah. You give us Giroud. We take Wenger off your hands. See how that works? Because I think you're angrier with Wenger than we are with Koeman.
I'm actually I think I'd say a lot of my frustration goes to the top. So it's Stan Kroenke because he wants to...
Is that actually how you pronounce his name?
Yep. He's American too, so he's caught in the greed amongst greed, and he wears makeup all the time, and He's a joke.
I kind of just want to call him Stan Cranky.
He should be cranky. Because
Or-
he's satisfied with his returns. He's not going to do anything. The only thing to do is you really like, when I was telling you, I want you to beat us, I'm sincere. I want you to beat us. Because the only way it's going to get better if we lose everything and you piss off the supporters so much where they literally don't show up to the Emirates. That's the only way that can change.
We will also take Usmanov off your hands if you want.
I will say that if I could say any positive thing, I do like the way that they work in the youth. I think that's very clutch.
Usually pretty consistent the
Yeah.
way they usually have one or two players from the youth system who come up to the first team every season. We tend to have one or two every season too. I think that's a pretty common thing with at least your team and ours.
But I've also said, I'm going to get back to like, how many times have you heard where there's a highlighted player, a top tier player that wants to maybe leave in the transfer window that refuses to come to Arsenal? You know what I mean? This is not at all. I have no interest in going to Arsenal. But would you ever hear that in Manchester United? Would you ever hear that?
I'm being totally honest here to everybody. Do people say that to Arsenal?
Yeah, I'm
Cause
serious.
we get that crap all the time, and it's the worst. We finally got our injection of cash, and we're like, hey, let's throw a £60 million bid down for the what's his name, the gigantic center back at Napoli, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, this guy's amazing, and him and his agent were like, man.
Really?
That happened like several times. It was the worst. It's like, yeah, we got money, and no one will take it. This sucks. So, if you don't replace Winger, what's your finish at the end of the season?
I think we sit outside of the. I think we'll probably be fifth, sixth, where we sit right now.
And if you do replace him,
it's hard to tell because again, you might have to let it burn before it actually gets back to being better again. So even if they did get rid of Winger, they could bring in somebody and they could actually fall even farther. But it's a lot of that is having to do with making a move to change the culture because you got so many of the people that are there that are used to the Winger way of doing things that it'll kind of hold over. And you can't really judge a coach or a manager like that. I mean, it's very seldom you'll see a manager come in there.
Oh yeah. So I'm not saying you'd be judging this manager. I'm just saying, let's say you bring in a high-profile manager who takes over holidays.
Okay.
What do you think you finish?
I guess I would have to. I guess I'd have to look at it at who it is because if it's somebody like.
Are you not going to commit here, TC?
If it's someone that's got passion, if it's got someone that's like, if someone that I could really, really trust that could actually turn things around or put a lightning underneath this team, then maybe I would say in the top four. But the way things are going, I would just say to be safe, and I was a betting man, I would just say still in that 6th, 7th category.
So
even if they did change, I think they would still. It's just still. The Wenger stink is still on it.
So you've heard it here first. Ty Collins recommends Sam Allardyce for the new Arsenal position.
Wait,
it's exactly what he's asking for.
Even his name is up there for the
of course.
U.S. soccer thing.
Yeah,
of course.
It would be.
It is. Have you not noticed?
No, I actually didn't know that was actually.
That's the truth.
I don't even know what to make of that. But you know what? He'd give us some defense. He'd give us some defense. That's what U.S. One of the main things U.S. lacks is consistent center backs. Getting back to our match, because we're totally veering away because that's what we do.
Right.
What do you think is going to happen on Sunday? What do you think Wenger's going to go with as far as his team? And who do you think your impact players are going to be?
The way I've been so salty with them lately, I don't know, it's tough to say who would be their...
Oh, you haven't been salty, Ty.
I think that... I'm pulling for you guys to win.
This is the weirdest episode.
I don't even want us to win. If anything, I'd say Lacazette comes through, gets a goal. And then maybe Giroux again with the super sub pops in and drops one in, and we survive 2-1 because you guys put a shot in that's like from the midway line and it goes over. Perfect. I mean, that's a Czech's head. So I don't know, or it's a PK because he can't stop. Czech can't stop a PK to save a life. So it's the helmet.
I'm going to call a 0-0 draw.
Oh, it's
just because it's. I mean, if this were college American football game, it'd be the mediocrity bowl. I'm just expecting a lot of just a turd fest. You know, I mean, yeah. So that's what just two teams that are out of sync. That's what I'm expecting. Yeah. So I think one of our teams might put it together playing against the other one. Get confidence.
You'll find a way to get a goal in this because our back line's terrible. Like it is terrible.
Yeah, we put so many shots on goal, Ty.
You'll find a way to do it against us.
Well, impact players, you mentioned Lacazette, maybe Giroud.
I mean, if Sanchez gets in the game, I don't know if Sanchez is going to get in the game. I think Sanchez is like the most exciting player to watch, just like Ozil. One of these great players to watch, but I don't know if he's going to play or not. I don't know if he's pissed off Wenger or, I don't know. Or they're just waiting to sell him to Manchester United, since Manchester United's going to swoop up and take Ozil and Sanchez and run away with the league, and then really piss me off.
So we got to wrap this up.
All right, good having you here on my channel here.
Thanks so much, Ty. You can see Ty on Ty Collins. Let's say his full name. You can see Ty Collins on the ACC Network, and every once in a while on ESPN3.
Well, they both work hand in hand.
It's kind of like a joint venture. Like if you go to ESPN3, you see the ACC Network on the side. You can see Ty there, all right. But you can also he has a podcast that he does with some of his fellow sports nerds.
Yeah,
they're journalists. They're like pretty daggone
It's
knowledgeable.
a broad brush, but usually when I get my rants, it's usually about Arsenal or teams that I'm big fan of that I try to keep neutral. But when I got blood in my mouth, I'm going off. So I've had a couple of Arsenal rants.
I think we all need a rant here or there, you know?
It's good for the soul.
It is.
Yeah.
The name of the podcast, Fan Interference. You can at Fan Interference on Twitter, and you can find their podcast on Stitcher.
And TuneIn.
And TuneIn.
And iTunes.
And iTunes. And on the corner. You can find their podcast on the corner.
Depends on what time of day it is.
So, I guess that is all. Make sure you check out Tyler's stuff. If you are watching us on YouTube, please subscribe. All right, leave us comments. If you are listening to this via podcast, please subscribe to our podcast. All right, and rate it if you have the ability. Thank you very much for checking this out on Toffee Blue Opposition View. I guess we'll see you next time, everybody.